Good morning. My name is Hector Luis Dorta Jr. I want to thank our city, county, and state officials for accepting my invitation to this news conference. The reason for this conference is to inform and educate the community of the importance of using masks, maintaining social distancing, and washing our hands. What I witnessed last week while visiting several businesses was unacceptable and was dangerous. If you own a business, it is your responsibility to follow all state guidelines. Finally, I want to give my condolences to all those families that have lost a loved one to COVID-19. I would like to thank Commissioner Michael Rivera and his secretary Barbara Lopez for assisting me with this news conference. Buenos días, mi nombre es Héctor Luis Dorta. Quiero darle las gracias a nuestros oficiales de la ciudad, del condado de Berks y el estado, aceptar mi invitación a esta conferencia. La razón de esta reunión es para informar y educar a nuestra comunidad sobre las reglas del estado de Pensilvania, que son usar las mascarillas, mantener 6 pies de distancia y lavarse las manos. Lo que yo vi en los negocios la semana pasada fue irresponsable y peligroso. Si usted es dueño de un negocio, es su responsabilidad seguir las reglas del estado. Quiero aprovechar esta oportunidad para darle el pésame a todas las familias que han perdido un ser querido a la causa de COVID-19. Para terminar, quiero dar las gracias al comisionador Michael Rivera, su secretaria Barbara López, en asistirme en esta reunión. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Hector Dorta, and to his wife, Lucy, I believe over here. I also want to thank Commissioner Michael Rivera and his executive assistant, Barbara Lopez. Commissioner Rivera wanted to be here. He had an emergency come up and is not able to join us. I'm Commissioner Christian Leinbach, along with the Spotted Lantern Flies that are here. And I want to thank you for coming out. We are here to focus on the need to do the right thing to stop the spread. We know that masks work. We know that social distancing works. This morning, I was not in downtown Reading, but it fits well. I was invited to visit LJ Fitness in Wilmersdorf because Lynn Kreider, the owner, wanted me to see what they are doing to comply with the Department of Health and with CDC. What was amazing, they're doing a great job following all the rules, but she shared with me data that was just released from their international association that in over 3.4 million visits to health centers, to gyms, member sports and health facilities, less than 0.004% of those individuals have tested positive. And it's because masking and social distancing of 6 feet or more works. And that's the message we want to leave with you today. Last Wednesday afternoon, Commissioner Barnhart and Commissioner Rivera and myself hosted a health forum at our weekly COVID-19 update. And one of the speakers was Dr. Deborah Powell from Reading Hospital. She heads up the infectious disease group. And she explained 2 important things. One, the reason masks work is that the COVID virus has to attach to something. And it attaches, if somebody's infected, it attaches to the aerosol coming out of a person's mouth and a person's nose. And a mask stops the vast majority of that aerosol. The second thing she dealt with is the myth that wearing a mask is dangerous in that it can build up CO2. And she highlighted that doctors and nurses have worn masks for decades, for hours at a time in the middle of surgery, and that there is no risk of CO2 poisoning. We are here today with a common sense message. This is not about me and my rights. This is about loving my neighbor. It's about being concerned for the people around me. I wear my mask for you. You wear your mask for me. We separate to protect each other. If we do the right things, we will get through this. We will get through this. Thank you very much, and I want to thank all of the other presenters that are here reinforcing the same message. Thank you.
I was coming to a kill a lanternfly celebration, but good morning, everyone. Commissioner Kevin Barnhart, and I want to echo a lot of what Commissioner Leinbach had said. We were here about 5 months ago to announce some changes that the county had made to fight this pandemic, and here we are 5 months later, and each and every week goes by, we get more and more support for people wearing their masks. I think it's finally starting to sink in. They say you have to do something 25, 26 times till it becomes a good habit. Seems like we have to tell people 2,600 times to wear a mask. It's all about protecting our community to get us through this. The whole premise of the numbers is to keep the pressure off of the hospitals and the healthcare facilities so we can smooth this out till we find a vaccine. So please, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask. We all do it. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable at times, but you know what? Life can be uncomfortable. We're in uncomfortable times. Well, we really have to stick together as a community. Each week we get our report from our contact tracing group, the Cook County Wellness, and we're starting to see a spike not just in the positivity rate of people being tested, meaning that as a test is conducted, we're in the 5, 6, 7% range. We're also seeing more of a spread with the contact tracers into large groups. Where is it happening? At daycare centers, at football, lacrosse, cheerleading groups. So it's not basically you with your significant other or family members. It's really in large groups. So the science is out there, the proof is out there. Once again, we are pleading with you. It's a simple task. Wear your mask. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. Eddie Moran, Mayor of the City of Reading. I want to first thank Dr. Dorta for bringing us together to remind the community, because I don't think that we're going to say anything differently today. It's a reminder to the community and a plea, like it was just stated. I want to thank the elected officials and everyone present for, again, their willingness to put their part. I'm just going to, again, be very, very brief and use the words again, not to sound redundant, remind our community the importance of the recommendations that have been given by our professionals. You know, it's been repeatedly said by Dr. Levine, your mask protects me, my mask protects you. So we have to do our part to protect each other. If we don't follow the guidelines and the recommendations, we're not going to flatten the curve. It was acknowledged. This is not, you know, something that just happened. I also want to remind the importance that when traveling, you follow those guidelines. You know, there's specific guidelines with specific states that have had a higher spike, that it's recommended that when you return, you follow certain recommendations. I'm going to plead to our community to please follow those guidelines. If we want to, again, return to some kind of normalcy, we're not going to be able to, especially with the flu season coming up. It's not going to get any better unless we do our part. So I am going to plead with each and every one of you to please do your part. So nuevamente le quiero dar las gracias al señor Dorta por traer la atención de la situación de que tenemos que recordarle a la comunidad algunas prácticas que no estamos obediendo. Le quiero dar gracias a los oficiales electos que están presentes. Pero nuevamente, esta presentación, esta reunión, no es para decirle algo que no sabía, no. Simplemente para darle un recordatorio de la importancia que es que tengamos que poner de nuestras partes si queremos ver o regresar a alguna clase de normalidad. You know, la doctora Levine dice, su máscara me protege a mí, mi máscara lo protege a usted. So vamos a coger la responsabilidad y las recomendaciones de los profesionales para asegurar de que esta pandemia se acabe lo más rápido posible. Si no cogemos estas recomendaciones y creemos que todo está mejor o que no hay ningún problema, no vamos a salir de esta. Tenemos que pensar de nuestras familias, de nuestras amistades, de nuestros socios cuando tenemos negocios, que sigamos esas recomendaciones. Nuevamente, y también es muy importante, hay recomendaciones que cuando viajamos obedecer las recomendaciones cuando regresamos de algunas áreas que tienen infecciones mayores para asegurar que no contagiemos a otros. Nuevamente, para usted, para su familia, para nuestra comunidad, haga de su parte. Once again, for you, for your family, for our community, let's do our part. Thank you.
Good morning. Hola. Yo soy la Senadora Judy Schwank. I'm State Senator Judy Schwank, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today. This is hard, isn't it? It's not just wearing a mask, it's all the restrictions that we're facing in life. It's seeing the businesses that we care of being closed. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. But I ask you to take heart. We know, and we've heard it from our illustrious speakers, that wearing masks, frequently washing our hands, and social distancing, those things work. We know what works. And we've learned a lot, haven't we, in this process? Our doctors and the scientists have had to learn as we go. But we know so much more than we did in March when all of this began, don't we? So I ask you to have some patience. Sometimes you hear conflicting advice, right? But we've got to all understand that this situation is changing as we go, and try to listen to trusted sources. You need to be a good consumer of information. I don't know about you, but I've seen some messages on Facebook that people send me that just astound me. Where is this information coming from? It is not founded in science. It is not information that is trusted. And so be careful of what you share. It's very, very important for us to do it. Know the difference between facts and opinions. I would say, at last, to remember to be helpful to those who are in need. I have with me my contribution to helping harvest the food bank. And I'm doing this, try to do this on a regular basis. Whatever you can, try to share. While we all say that we're in this together, some of us are experiencing it in a very different way than others are. It is much harder. So please, be of help if you possibly can be. And I will finish with this. Ser valiente y amable. Take courage and be kind. We need to remember that advice too. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented a unique set of challenges for each of us. Social distancing isn't easy, but it is effective. After a few months of feeling inconvenienced day after day after day, we must all understand how important social distancing is. Here are the 4 reasons you should still be taking social distancing very seriously. We are not done flattening the curve. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've all heard about the importance of flattening the curve, with social distancing being the primary way to achieve this. But our need to flatten the curve didn't end as restrictions began to ease and businesses began to reopen. The new coronavirus will be among us for some time, and a flat curve doesn't stay flat if we don't remain committed to the measures and precautions that got us there in the first place. Keeping the curve flat is critical for our communities. It helps ensure that plenty of healthcare workers and hospital beds and ICUs remain available as individuals seek treatments for medical conditions that didn't just vanish because the pandemic began. It helps ensure that businesses can remain open safely. And it helps ensure the situations don't get out of hand don't inconvenience others. Restrictive orders may get put back in place if we are not practicing social distancing. The reality is that flattening the curve is an active, continuous process, an ever-present goal that each of us must take into account while making decisions every day. Number two, this virus can spread from person to person. By now, we're all familiar with how the virus spreads. If you're infected and cough, clear your throat, or even speak, you may potentially spread the virus to someone nearby. While we hear a lot about person-to-person spread, it's important to understand that a person can infect more than just one person. In fact, on average, an individual can spread to 2 to 3 people. You can spread the virus without knowing it. We're still learning more and more about the coronavirus every single day, but public health officials continue to warn us that we don't actually have to be exhibiting symptoms to spread the coronavirus. A person infected with the virus can be contagious as early as 3 days before he or she begins showing symptoms. Some people may never develop symptoms, but still able to spread the virus. Lastly, you've heard it here. You've heard us beg, you've heard us plead. I will continue, no shame in it. We're begging you. Social distancing is your social responsibility. The COVID-19 pandemic has placed a new level of personal accountability in front of each of us. To slow the spread of coronavirus and protect the health and vitality of our communities, we must each remain committed to the extra precautions our public health officials are recommending. At the core of these preventative measures is the need to continue social distancing even if you are healthy. While it feels inconvenient, social distancing doesn't have to mean social isolation. We all have a role to play. Please wear your masks in public. Please do the right things. Do the things for your parents, your grandparents, your children. The sooner we can get back to beating this pandemic, the sooner our children can be back in school, our businesses and restaurants can reopen, and we can go back to the living the life that we all want to get back to. So again, I thank you all for the support. Please take heed. Practice social distancing. Where you're at, masks. We all have a role to play. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who is here and has participated in this event. Simply put, it's the law now to wear a mask when you are in public. I know that no one likes to wear a mask. It's different, but it's the safe way to operate, and it's not only safe for yourself, it's safe for the others that you are around. And I want to emphasize the fact that it's now the law. The governor has passed a mandate that allows the police to issue you a fine if you are not wearing a mask. Now, that's not our goal. Times are tough enough in this crisis. We don't want to issue unnecessary citations. We're asking for your voluntary compliance with this mandate. It's the right thing to do to protect not only yourself, but also to protect others. And from the law enforcement perspective, we are just requesting that all of you in all of our communities, when you are out in public, comply with the masking mandate that has been issued, because it does work. Science has proven it's the key, and we need at some point in our life to return to normalcy. We are all looking forward to that, and by wearing a mask, you'll be able to return sooner than later. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with all these fine people and all the great comments they've made and suggestions and advice they've given. I know that many people, and I had this conversation with a constituent just yesterday, who felt that among other issues, the wearing of a mask was taking away his constitutional rights. It was a conversation that, and a debate I knew I couldn't win with him, but I believe we can win it with most of the people in this city, this county, and this country. I think many of us look at this as limiting our freedoms. I'd argue that it expands our freedoms. My mother-in-law at 95 had a mild case of COVID. She's recovered. I'm frustrated that we can't be in her presence. We can't hug her. We haven't seen her in person other than behind a window since mid-March. But that sacrifice of not having immediate contact, be it with her or with anyone else, but especially in her case, I'm hoping that enables us to celebrate her 100th birthday down the road. The freedom that masks give us is the freedom to live beyond the next few months, the next half year. And there's no better beacon of freedom than the Statue of Liberty. Hector and I live in Glenside, Reading's Great Northwest. We have our own Lady Liberty out there. Guess what? She's wearing a mask. So if you go by the corner of Schuylkill Avenue and Lehigh Street, you'll see District 5's Great Lady of Liberty, Statue of Liberty replica, wearing a mask. I ask everyone in the city, county, state, and country to do their bit. It's not that hard a sacrifice. And by doing this, we'll extend our freedom to live longer, to live better, and to live a more normal life. So please, everyone, adhere and listen to what's been said. Limit your gatherings, limit your numbers, limit your house parties. It's for a short time in the great scope of our lives. And the more we do this, the more we wear a mask, the better we are going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Two closing comments. One, specifically for anyone that thinks wearing a mask doesn't protect someone else. I want to ask you a question. If someone stood in front of you and said, "I'm going to spit in your face," but you have a choice. I can do it without a mask, or I can do it wearing a mask. Think about what your answer would be, and that should give you the answer on whether or not a mask protects other people. Finally, I want to encourage you to go to a website, doyourpartberks.com. We set this website up early in the COVID crisis. There are a lot of resources there. Stephanie Weaver is the Public Relations Officer for Berks County. She is updating information on that website. Send people there to get resources for businesses, for individuals. We have information from Pennsylvania Department of Health, from CDC, from OSHA, all different types of reliable sources. Thank you very much. We'll go to Q&A in a minute.
Quiero dar las gracias a todos los oficiales que la invitación que le di. Le pido a la comunidad latina que por favor haga su parte, usen sus mascarillas, esto salva vidas. Usen los 6 pies de distancia y lávense las manos. Again, I'd like to thank all the officials and God bless our city.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, earlier on in the press conference, you mentioned something about the disappointment that you've encountered by some of the businesses in Berks County. Specifically, what did you encounter that disappointed you, and what did we?
Go ahead.
I was out on Monday with my wife. We were to purchase some tires for our car, and we visited 4 businesses. There's no need for me to mention the businesses. I thought, as a disc jockey for 35 years in the Latino community here in the city of Reading, Berks County, that it was my job to get us all together and get this message out. We saw in one business, about 35 people, nobody was wearing masks, nobody was social distancing, and it concerned me very much. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 businesses were doing something that I thought was dangerous and outrageous.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. And again, thank you very much to our elected officials and others. The Hispanic Center, Dr. Dorda, really appreciate having you here. Thank you.